Hi, and welcome to Historical Influence.
Okay, so let's get into it. We're opening up the sources today on one of history's most compelling and controversial figures, Marco Polo.
The Venetian merchant, explorer, and writer. We're doing a deep dive into his book, The Travels of Marco Polo, or Il Milione.
And this book, it wasn't just a book. It completely changed how Europe saw the world.
It was revolutionary. It was the first really vibrant, detailed look at the East, specifically China under Kublai Khan. The wealth, the scale, the sheer complexity of it all.
It inspired everyone, right? From map makers to, Christopher Columbus himself. But here's the core mission for us today. The whole story has been tangled in controversy from the moment it was written.
Exactly. Did he really see all the marvels of the world he describes? Or was he, as some critics claim, just a fantastic storyteller, repeating tales he heard from others?
To even start answering that, we have to look at the world he was born into. You can't really get Polo without understanding the 13th century.
And the 13th century was dominated by one single superpower.
The Mongol Empire. We're talking about an empire stretching from Central Europe all the way across Asia. What did that actually mean for a Venetian merchant?
It meant stability. Historians call it the Pax Mongolica, the Mongol peace. Before that, travel was chaotic. Constant warfare, robbers, different laws everywhere you went.
So just getting from A to B was a huge risk.
A huge risk, but the Mongols valued trade. They standardized tariffs, set up a legal system, and most importantly, they protected the roads.
So the Pax Mongolica wasn't just a ceasefire, it was like a commercial highway.
Precisely. It revitalized the old Silk Road. For the first time in centuries, the path between the Mediterranean and East Asia was not only open, but relatively safe.
Okay, so that makes the journey at least possible. But let's be clear, Marco Polo wasn't the very first European to get to the Mongol court, was he?
No, not at all. There were others before him, mostly envoys sent by the Pope.
Like Giovanni da Pianto Carpino.
Right, and Guillaume de Roubaix. But they were on diplomatic or religious missions. Their reports were drier. They didn't capture the public imagination.
Their accounts didn't go viral, so to speak.
Not at all. Polo's did because his family weren't clerics. They were merchants. Wealthy Venetians dealing in spices, jewels, luxury goods. They were looking at the world with a different set of eyes.
Eyes focused on profit, on logistics, on things a priest might just ignore.
Exactly. And the story really starts with his father, Niccolo, and his uncle, Maffeo. Around 1260, they set out on their first big journey.
They were already in Constantinople, and they saw a political shift coming.
Very shrewdly, yes. They liquidated all their assets into things they could carry, mostly jewels, and just headed east. They sailed across the Black Sea, but then conflicts diverted them, and they ended up stuck in Bukhara for 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Just waiting.
But it paid off. From there, they were invited to meet the great Khan himself.
Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis.
The one and only. In 1266, they arrive in Dadu, modern-day Beijing. And Kublai is just fascinated by these men from the West. He gives them a mission.
And this is where it gets really interesting. He doesn't just ask for priests. He asked for 2 things.
Right. First, oil from the lamp at the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. A holy relic.
I'm second.
100 wise Christians. But he was very specific. He wanted men skilled in the 7 arts. Grammar, rhetoric, logic, geometry.
He wasn't asking for missionaries to convert his people.
No, not at all. He was headhunting. He wanted skilled administrators, scientists, engineers, people who could help him govern his massive, diverse empire. He was looking for knowledge.
A great Khan asking the Pope for 100 medieval polymaths. That's a huge deal.
It is. The brothers get back to Venice around 1269. It had been almost a decade. And Niccolo meets his son, Marco, for the very first time. He's about 15.
And Marco's mother had passed away while his father was gone, so he'd had this very practical mercantile education.
Learning about goods, currency, shipping, all hands on. And just 2 years later, in 1271, they set off again. This time, 17-year-old Marco is with them.
This is the journey we all know, the epic one, almost 15,000 miles.
And it was brutal from the start. Their plan was to go by sea from the port of Hormuz in Persia. But when they got there, they took one look at the ships and deemed them completely unseaworthy.
So their entire plan is out the window, right at the beginning.
It's a moment of truth. They had to commit to the overland route, straight through some of the most dangerous territory on Earth.
I just can't fathom it.
Yeah.
Crossing Asia Minor, Mesopotamia, and then the Pamir Mountains.
The roof of the world. The sources talk about incredible dangers, like a caravan ambushed by bandits who attacked under the cover of a sandstorm.
But it wasn't just external threats. Marco himself almost didn't make it.
That's a crucial detail. He fell so ill they had to stop for an entire year in Oasis in what's now Afghanistan, just so he could recover.
A whole year. This wasn't a quick trip. It was a life-altering ordeal.
And when they finally reached Kublai Khan's court, probably at his summer palace in Chengdu, it's around 1275. Marco is about 21 years old.
So how does the most powerful man in the world react to this 21-year-old Venetian?
He's incredibly impressed. Marco was smart, he was humble, and crucially, he knew 4 languages. For the Khan, he was a perfect asset. A foreigner with no ties to the complex Mongol or Chinese court factions.
He was a neutral observer, someone trustworthy.
Exactly. So Kublai appoints him as a special emissary. And for the next 17 years, Marco isn't just hanging around the palace. He's traveling all over the empire.
To modern-day Myanmar, India, Vietnam. He was seeing the whole operation from the inside out.
Which brings us right to the heart of the controversy. The claim in his book that he served as the governor of the city of Yangzhou for 3 years.
Okay, I have to be the skeptic here. Critics like Francis Wood make a strong point. The Chinese were meticulous record keepers, and there is no record of a Marco Polo serving as governor. That sounds pretty damning.
It does sound damning if you take the word governor in its literal European sense. But defenders argue it's a matter of translation and, well, exaggeration.
What do you mean?
Polo was likely an official, maybe a high-ranking one, in something like the government's salt monopoly in Yangzhou. This was a hugely important and powerful administrative role.
So not the governor, but still a big deal.
A very big deal. And remember who he dictated the book to years later. Rustichello de Pisa, a writer of romances. It's highly probable that Rustichello heard powerful administrator of the salt monopoly and wrote down governor because it sounded much more heroic to a European audience.
That makes sense. It's better for the brand.
Exactly. But Marco's detailed knowledge of the city's revenues and logistics, that points to real hands-on experience there.
And that experience let him see things that must have just completely blown his mind.
The technological gap between China and Europe at that time was immense. Let's start with something that sounds like pure fantasy. Paper money.
Right. He describes how they make it from mulberry bark, stamp it with the Khan's seal, and if you refuse to accept it, punishment is death.
Now imagine you're a Venetian merchant. Your entire world is based on tangible value gold and silver coins. To hear that the richest empire on earth runs on what is essentially worthless paper.
It must have sounded like absolute madness. He was trying to explain fiat currency centuries before Europe even had a concept for it.
He was, and it didn't stop there. He was the first European to write about the use of coal-black stones, he called them, that burn like logs.
And porcelain, gunpowder.
He saw it all. But as a good Venetian, one detail he noted was about ships. He was fascinated by Chinese junks.
What about them?
He described their use of watertight bulkhead partitions.
Why is that so important?
Because if a European ship got a hole in its hull, the whole ship would flood and sink. It was all one open space. Chinese junks were divided into sections. If one section flooded, the others would stay dry, and the ship would stay afloat.
That's a brilliant practical innovation, and something only a merchant who understood the risk of losing cargo would really notice and appreciate.
It's one of those small technical details that strongly suggests he was actually there, seeing it with his own eyes.
So 17 years go by. They're wealthy, they're respected, they want to go home.
And Kublai Khan, who has grown very fond of them, basically says no. He doesn't want to lose them.
They were trapped. So how did they get out?
They finally got their chance in 1291. They were asked to escort a Mongol princess, Kukuchin, by sea to Persia to be married.
A diplomatic mission. Their ticket home.
But it was a catastrophic voyage. They set sail from southern China with a fleet of 14 junks and over 600 people. The journey took 2 years.
And human cost was just staggering.
It's horrific. Of the 600 non-crew passengers who started the voyage, only 18 survived.
18? That's not a journey, that's a tragedy. It just underscores the incredible risks they were taking.
They finally limped back to Venice in 1295 after being away for 24 years. The story goes their own family didn't even recognize them.
Then, in a final twist of fate, Venice goes to war with its rival Genoa. Marco joins the fight, gets captured, and ends up in a Genoese prison.
And it's there, in that jail cell, that he dictates his entire story to a fellow inmate, this Rustichello de Pisa.
A romance writer. which is so crucial to understanding the book. It's Marco's facts filtered through a storyteller's lens.
Which is why, when it came out, many people just dismissed it as the million lies. It was too fantastic to be believed.
Which brings us back full circle to the skeptics. Let's lay out their case. The biggest ammunition is the omissions, right?
Yes. How could you live in China for 17 years and not mention the Great Wall, or tea, or foot binding, or even Chinese writing?
Those are powerful points. There are also factual errors, like his claim about helping with the siege of Shenyang, which ended before he even arrived.
True. So how do we defend the account? Well, scholars now bring a lot of context to it.
Okay, let's start with the Great Wall.
The Great Wall we picture today is mostly a Ming Dynasty creation, built long after Polo was there. The older walls existed, but the Mongols, his employers, wouldn't have been maintaining fortifications built to keep them out. He may simply not have seen it as significant.
Now, what about the cultural things, like tea and foot binding?
As a foreign official serving the Mongol elite, he likely lived in a social bubble, separate from the everyday domestic life of the Han Chinese, where those customs were most common. Other foreign travelers from that period also failed to mention them.
But the defense has more than just excuses, right? There are things he got uniquely right.
This is the strongest evidence. He reports incredibly specific, verifiable details about things like salt tax revenues, the types of currency used in different regions, logistical details that you couldn't just get from talking to other merchants in Persia.
And the princess. The journey with Princess Kokoshin.
That's a huge one. His story is independently confirmed in both Persian and Chinese historical records. That's not something you can just make up. It proves he was operating at that high level at that exact time.
It's like a verified receipt for his story.
It is. And maybe the final nail in the coffin for the skeptics is a detail that isn't even in his book. Years later, he told an astronomer, Pietro de Bono, that he had seen a comet that looked like a sack with a big tail while at sea.
Yeah.
Astronomers have since confirmed that there are Chinese and Indonesian records of that exact type of comet being visible in 1293. Precisely when and where Marco Polo was on that terrible voyage home.
Wow. So the core of the account really holds up. Despite the romance writer's flourishes, Il Milione wasn't fantasy. It was revolutionary data.
Its influence was enormous. It showed up on major maps like the Catalan Atlas. For explorers like Columbus, it was required reading. It provided the economic and geographic justification for the entire age of exploration.
Marco Polo died in 1324. And on his deathbed, his friends supposedly begged him to admit he'd made it all up.
And his legendary response was, "I have not told half of what I saw." Given how much scrutiny the half he did tell still gets, you just have to wonder what unimaginable marvels the other half might have contained.
Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that shaped our world.